This episode is powered by Poddex.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Go Talk podcast. With me, as always, Linwood and Bryce. As always, this episode of the Go Talk podcast is sponsored by Poddex. Poddex are unique interview questions and episode-starting prompts in the palm of your hands. So whether you are a new podcaster or existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience or get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddex.com. Use code GTP2020 for 10% off your first order. Today, we're just going to do a quick recap of weeks 6 through 8 of the NFL season. And I guess there's no better place to start than the Steelers being the only team undefeated at this point in the season. They are
the Steelers balling, bro.
7-0.
I know.
They're 7-0. Just coming off a win against the Ravens. What was it? 28-24.
Yeah, it was a close one.
It was something like that. It was a close game, which was surprising considering how bad Lamar Jackson played in that game. I think he threw 2 picks, and he threw 2 fumbles, and he fumbled the ball twice. At this point in his career, Lamar Jackson is 24-1 in meaningless games, which are like, I guess you would consider games against teams that are under 500. Or not playoff teams. He is 0-6 in games that matter. That includes his 2 playoff losses, his 3 losses to the Chiefs, and now this loss to the Steelers. So I guess this opening question is a two-fold question. Are the Steelers the best team in the NFL, and are the Ravens truly Super Bowl threats this season?
No, I never thought the Ravens were a Super Bowl threat in the first place.
I thought that they would, based off last year, and just build off that momentum, but no. I mean, they're going to go to the playoffs, and then they're going to learn that they're not as good as they think they are.
Are they going to go to the playoffs?
Every year.
Go to the playoffs?
What's that?
Because
are they going to the playoffs?
I mean, are they going to go to the playoffs?
I think they'll.
If you think about it, at this rate, I think unless they have a monumental collapse, the Steelers are shoo-ins for the playoffs at this point. The only undefeated team left in the league. They've got 9 games left if the season completes. Which so far, even though there have been numerous cases of coronavirus throughout different teams, the league hasn't been able to continue through the games with the rescheduling and whatnot. So chances are the Steelers are going to win the division, which means that the Ravens are going to have to be the best, second best in their division. And when you look at the other potential number 2s in the division, is it a guarantee that the Ravens make the playoffs? Especially when you consider the fact that the Browns, even though they're terrible, are what are they?
Nah, they ain't got Odell. But did they win on Sunday?
They did. They beat the Titans without Odell. Yeah.
Wait. What's their record?
They're 6-2. They're 6-2. I think they're 6-2. I think the Ravens are 6. Actually, I'll just look at it right now. Yeah, the Ravens are 5-2.
They have to play against
the Browns are 5-3. So you're looking at a situation where if you're not at least in the your best chance with this 17 playoff thing, your best chance to be in the playoffs is to be one of the top 2 seeds in your division. It is possible that we don't see the Ravens in the playoffs this year if they somehow keep up this level of play, even though Baker Mayfield sucks. But that's a different story. The Ravens have boasted one of the best defenses the last 2 years, and it's only because they're the ultimate front runner. They get out to big leads, and then at this point, you're basically forcing teams to throw the ball, and then that's how they have a strong defense.
Hey, the Ravens actually might not make the playoffs, actually. Now that I'm looking at who's winning this game. Yeah.
The Raiders are playing well. They're 4-3. They're second in the AFC West. They're doing well.
The Dolphins are 4-3.
The Dolphins are 4-3. Brian Flores in Miami is definitely a candidate for Coach of the Year, right behind Mike Tomlin. Like I said, the Browns 5-3. The Titans and the Colts are both 5-2. So I mean, there is a chance that the Ravens don't make the playoffs, and I think the further we get through the season, I think the more I think the more we might be talking about the Ravens possibly not making playoffs, especially if Lamar Jackson can't get it together.
Now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't look possible. Well, it does look possible that they will miss the playoffs.
I mean, if you look at it right now, they are the fifth seed. But again, right behind them are the Colts, who are also 5-2, the Browns, who are 5-3, the Raiders, who are 4-3, the Dolphins, who are 4-3. So, like I said, the Dolphins have been playing good football. They had a great game against the Rams on Sunday. In Tua's first start, Tua wasn't that impressive. The Dolphins win was buoyed by just defense and special teams doing whatever they wanted with the Rams. So there's that. But the AFC East is wide open for the first time in 20 years, now that Tom Brady's not in New England. So with the Bills and the Dolphins being 1-2 in the division, it's possible the Dolphins make the playoffs over the Ravens, which is something a year or even 2 years ago you wouldn't have even imagined saying the Ravens not being in the playoffs in replace of the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to shift over to the NFC just for a second. Talk about Russell Wilson, who is obviously the leading candidate for MVP. Who would you say is the biggest threat to Russell potentially not winning MVP, if there is a threat at all?
You said at winning MVP. I thought you was about to talk about the Seattle team.
Yes.
I think Russ probably playing like the best.
Yeah, I can't.
He might be the MVP right now, but then people trying to say Kyler MVP. People trying to say Kyler.
I don't think Kyler Murray's MVP candidate. I think the only thing that hurts Kyler Murray's campaign for MVP is that this is his second year. Lamar Jackson, who was MVP last year, won MVP in his second year. Patrick Mahomes, the year before him, won the MVP in his second year. And when you compare Patrick Mahomes' and Lamar Jackson's MVP resumes to what Kyler Murray has done so far in his second year, it doesn't match up. It's not.
Yeah. It's good and solid, but it's not as spectacular as the two.
He has the Cardinals as a playoff team, that's for sure. But Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes had their teams in their second year as Super Bowl contenders. The Cardinals aren't there yet. Now, there's a lot of football that's a place where anything can change, but just like right now, I don't have Kyler Murray on my list of potential MVP candidates.
I'm loving these black quarterbacks, man.
They are doing the black quarterbacks. Well, most of the black quarterbacks are doing well. The only black quarterback that's not doing well right now is Cam Newton. He's not been playing well.
I just don't understand it. Like
it's crazy.
Like 3 or 4 years ago, and he was just an MVP candidate and he won the Super Bowl.
See, but now like his defense. The story of Cam's career is his defense always. They don't outshine him. They don't outshine him, but they always play better than him.
Okay. The season they went to the Super Bowl 50. The season they went to the Super Bowl when they were 15-1. That Panthers defense had one of the better defenses in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And the only defense that was better than them was the Broncos defense, and that was the defense they lost to in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, Bryce is right. He's been fortunate enough to be on a team with a solid defense through much of his.
But not now in New England.
Are y'all saying that he's always been this type of player? You don't think this is like?
Yeah. No, I mean, if you ever watch a Panthers game, besides that 15-1 season, like if you ever watch the Panthers play somebody on TV, bro, and you watch Cam, bro, that's exactly how he plays. So it's nothing new to him. Well, when you watch him, it's like nothing. It's nothing new. No, it's like what you expect.
I mean, I remember that 15-1 season, and I just remember him being.
That was 2015, right?
Crazy.
It was 2015. I remember that season, and the
that's
thing
his
I
best
was
season.
always saying about that season. The thing I said the most about that season was, they win 15-1. I think of all the season when you're looking at teams that win like 13 or more games, I would say this: that go 15-1, which is perfect considering that it's nearly impossible to go 16-0, especially in today's NFL. That was probably one of the luckiest 15-1 seasons, just because when you look at it, like they're winning games they shouldn't have been winning. They were not the best team in their division at that time. They were just finding ways to win divisional games. And so ultimately, when you play 6 games out of your season is within your division and you win and you go 5-1 in those games, chances are, unless you really, really suck, you're going to have a good season. You're going to be a playoff team. I always thought I never thought that was a team that could win the Super Bowl just because of Cam's style of play. That hasn't really been a style of play that proves to win Super Bowls in NFL history. The interesting thing for the Patriots is they're 2-5. You look over at the Bucks, they're 6-2.
Yeah, the Bucks playing good too. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
So I ask this question. That is going to be a good game. Bucks and Saints. I will ask this question: Is the Patriots' lack of success because they don't have Tom Brady, or is it just what Bill Belichick said a few days ago? They sold out to win those Super Bowls, and now they have no one left on the team.
That's a fact.
That's bad. I mean, I'm like, Tom Brady's obviously awesome. He's great. He's one of the greatest of all time. So of course, when you lose that, you want to take a dip. But if they had a solid quarterback, they'll be winning more games. So you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They might gonna win lose more games, but they should still be on the cusp of being
Here's
contenders.
something how I feel about the Bucks, and I don't know how Bryce is going to react to this. The Bucks are not a team that lacked talent, right? Like the biggest issue with the Bucks last season was Jameis Winston. He's not a bad quarterback. He threw for 30 interceptions. I mean, he threw 30 touchdowns. He just also threw 30 interceptions, and that was really the issue with. And that was essentially the issue with Jameis Winston is that he couldn't. He turned the ball over too much. I will give you if you took Tom Brady off of the Bucks and you put a quarterback like, I don't know, I'd say if you put a guy like a Dak Prescott or I don't know, maybe a Carson Wentz or a quarterback that is a franchise guy, not necessarily an all-time pantheon great like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, like one of those guys, like a franchise guy, the Bucks would still be 6-2.
You think so?
I do. I don't think that Tom Brady is the reason why the Bucks are 6-2. I think
they're good on offense and they're good on defense.
Exactly, but here's the other thing about the Bucks. The Bucks have had their offensive line have played together for I think it's 96 or 97% of their games, which is the most. They have the most consistent offensive line. Like every other offensive line in the league, I don't think there's another offensive line in the NFL right now that has had one group of guys play more than 90% of the snaps throughout the season so far together. The Bucks have that. Again, the Bucks also have, I'd say, the second best defense in the league behind the Steelers. But again, if you put Dak Prescott, if you put Carson Wentz injury-free on that team, I would argue I don't know. I'm trying to think of another guy. I think if you put a Matthew Stafford on that team, I think that team is still 6-2.
Matt Ryan?
I think if you put Matt Ryan on that team is still 6-2. And that's not taking anything away from Tom, because Tom is obviously one of the all-time greats. He's obviously going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. He's been in 9 Super Bowls. He's won 6 of them. But I don't think the Bucks' success is all Tom Brady. I think the success is Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, and all the talent on offense and defense.
Does Michael Thomas play tomorrow?
Does Michael Thomas play tomorrow? I don't think so. I think he should play tomorrow. I think the only reason he didn't play last week was because he got into that fight. I think he was healthy to play last week, but he got into that fight, and so they sat him. I think if he plays tomorrow, the Bucks lose. just like they did week 1. I think this will be the first time in Tom Brady's career where
he is playing.
I think this will be the first time in Tom Brady's career where he loses 2 games to a divisional opponent in the same season. Granted,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the Bucs could pull it off tomorrow. No, I think the Bucs could pull it off tomorrow. Because the Bucs got somebody to watch Kamara. They got somebody to watch Kamara with the linebackers. Their corners is iffy. Now their secondary is where it gets a little iffy because it's like who's back there.
Right.
Can y'all hear me?
And I think that's where.
Yeah.
I think that's where the advantage, in my opinion, plays for the Saints. The Saints have been playing mediocre football this season. They've also played most of this season without Michael Thomas because of injury and off the field issues. But Alvin Kamara is one of the better dual threat running backs in the league. He's not just going to hurt you on the ground. He can hurt you through the air as well. I mean, you're right.
Yeah,
you have the linebackers, but I mean, when you look at that secondary, like you said, that secondary is very suspect. The Bucs defense is buoyed by their linebackers and their front 4. So essentially their front 7 there. Their back 4, one of the worst back 4s in the league. I think if they get into a situation where it can use Taysom Hill in one of those, those weird packages that they've been known to use over the last 2 years.
You think they can pull that off?
I think that could be the difference. I think the other key is going to be getting Michael Thomas the ball at least 12 to 15 times and him doing something with it.
And Antonio Brown. Don't forget about AB's playing tomorrow too.
There is AB. Here's what I'll say about AB though, and there are people saying that AB is going to take the Bucs to the Super Bowl. That's just not the case. Because you're still adding a lot of star power onto a team that already has a lot of star power. There is no guarantee that Antonio Brown is going to get the targets he was getting in Pittsburgh, or even the targets he would have gotten if he stayed with the now Las Vegas Raiders. You know what I mean? They already have their number 1 receiver in Mike Evans. Mike Evans is going to get a majority of those targets. He's already got Tom Brady obviously already has reliable in Rob Gronkowski. I say Antonio Brown gets.
No, but I think AB will know his role though. I think he'll know his role though.
You're right. He will know his role. I think it'll just. He hasn't
played in what, 2 years or a year?
I think he played in a preseason game.
He played that one regular season game last year against the Dolphins.
He did play as the Patriots in that one game where they cut him. You're right. So I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible for Antonio Brown to find a spot on the team and be successful. I just don't. Antonio Brown has personality issues on the field and off the field. When it comes to being the guy, he's not going to be the guy in Tampa Bay, and I expect that he knows that because he signed on to this. I don't know what that looks like for him though. Like I don't know how he reacts to not being the guy in Tampa Bay. One thing I will say about Antonio Brown, and this is just on a personal note, I am truly disappointed in the NFL trade deadline. This season,
it was terrible.
It was terrible. Nothing. We lost Wentworth somehow. Nothing happened. That's number 1. Number 2, and I'm just going to go on a little rant here. And I don't think I've ever said this about the Packers before. So this is new territory for me. We and this is not supposed to be in this video, but I just want to give a little context. We just beat the 49ers at the top of week 9. We just beat the 49ers 31-17. And Shannon Sharp, I love Shannon Sharp. He's on Undisputed, and he said it was a virtuoso by Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers did play a great game, so did Devontae Adams, but we didn't really play the 49ers like we played last year. A lot of guys are injured. So I don't really want to use the word virtuoso. I think if we lose that game, that's a big issue for us to not walk out of that game with a victory. So we'll talk about that later in the other video that it's supposed to be in, but whatever. The point that I'm making is the Green Bay Packers have wasted Aaron Rodgers. I can't think of the GM's name. I know we call him G.O.A.T, but to not draft a single wide receiver, to not draft a single wide receiver in one of the deepest wide receiver draft classes in modern history, to not make any moves in the offseason to get a wide receiver. Although we did get Devin Funchess, but I think Devin Funchess opted out of the season. So that was essentially a waste. To not come to a trade agreement to get Will Fuller onto the team, and then to not sign Antonio Brown or Des Bryant, two of the biggest free agents. I mean, in terms of like guys who haven't played in a while but can still give you solid production at the wide receiver position, I think it's really disappointing. It's a little bit frustrating. You can look at that game and say that we won that game, and right now we're sitting, 7-2 without a solid, reliable number 2 receiver, and you can say that. But when it gets to playoff time, and you're talking about the Seahawks, you're talking about the Bucks, who, like I said, have the second best defense in the league. When you're talking about teams like the Saints, things like that, good teams that it's going to come down to the wire in certain situations. You can't just have one receiver because, for example, Packers and Seahawks, Jamal Adams, arguably probably one of the best, one of the best in the game in terms of on defense. And I'm not just going to say in his position. I'm going to say from all 11 positions on the defensive side, he's one of the best on defense. Specifically, if you want to narrow down specifically in the secondary, you have Jamal Adams just wearing down on Devontae Adams. Who are you going to throw the ball to in big-time moments in the playoffs? Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Alan Lazard, who's been on IR for a while.
Lazard, the man.
We don't have – although Alan Lazard is a solid receiver, what I'm saying is we haven't – Valdez-Scantling, MVS, and Alan Lazard, they're great, but they're not a guy you're going to go to down the stretch in the playoffs. We don't have Equanimeous St. Brown anymore. I think we cut him. We signed 2 guys from the practice squad who haven't played a snap of NFL football. So do I think we'll win the division? Yes. I think if we don't win the division, then that's even more problematic. And it's another piece of evidence as to how the Packers have wasted Aaron Rodgers, who is one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. He was the most talented quarterback of all time until Patrick Mahomes came along. You say we get to the playoffs and we make it to the NFC Championship. Our defense isn't that great. We don't have that great of a run defense. We saw that against the Vikings. They ran all over us. And it was a game that was sheer embarrassment. Yet somehow we were still managed to come back and figure out a way to get to a position to win the game, possibly win the game. And then we fumbled on the last play of the game. So there's that. I say all that to say I'm very disappointed in the Packers. I'm very proud of the Steelers, who have been doing very well. Mike Tomlin as well, who just passed Tony Dungy for the most wins as an African American head coach, who definitely be coach of the year. T.J. Watt will probably be defensive player of the year if he keeps up how he's been doing. Steelers are probably the best team in NFL in a week or two. And in my Super Bowl prediction, when this is all said and done, it'll be the Seahawks or the Steelers in the Super Bowl down in Tampa Bay or wherever the Super Bowl is. I'm done with my rant. Thank you for indulging me. I have no idea what Lynn would win, but we'll figure it out and we'll find them for the next episode. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, click on the notification bell, check out any older videos, comment down below, share with your family and friends. And as always, thank you for joining us and enjoy the rest of your lives.